$66,000. That's what my daughter thought she'd stolen from me when she forged my dead husband's will and told me to find somewhere else to die. She had no idea that in 72 hours, I'd be sitting across from an FBI agent, holding all the cards, watching her entire world collapse. But here's the thing about women who survive 43 years of invisible labor. We don't just get even. We become everything you never thought we could be. Let me tell you how a $79 motel room became the launching pad for the most satisfying revenge in federal court history. 2 months ago, I was Margaret Sullivan, devoted wife, invisible mother, the woman who cooked, cleaned, and kept everything running while everyone else took credit. When Robert died at 71, I thought grief would kill me. I was wrong. What almost killed me was my own daughter. Victoria showed up at the funeral in designer black, cooing about how difficult this must be. Her voice dripped with concern that should have warned me. "Mom, you can't manage this big house alone. The stairs, the maintenance, all those memories." I should have seen the calculation behind her sympathy. For 6 weeks, she circled like a vulture, bringing her investment banker husband Kevin over for family dinners that felt like ambushes. They'd corner me with retirement community brochures, speaking slowly like I was senile. "These places are wonderful, Mom. People your own age, no responsibilities." What they meant was no inheritance to split, no inconvenient mother asking questions. Last Tuesday, Victoria arrived with 2 suitcases and the killing blow. "Mom, we've made a decision." Her mask didn't even pretend anymore. "Kevin got promoted. We're moving into town. This house is perfect for us." My throat closed. "Move in? Victoria, this is my home." "Actually, Mom." She smiled, the kind of smile that cuts. "According to Dad's will, I inherited everything. The house, the investments, all of it. I've been letting you stay here out of kindness." The room tilted. "Victoria, there must be some mistake." "No mistake. Dad knew I'd take better care of his legacy than you ever could." She checked her watch like I was making her late. "You never understood money. You were just the wife." Just the wife. 43 years reduced to 3 words. Then she delivered the line that would cost her everything. "Find somewhere else to die. You're useless now." I packed my life into 2 suitcases while my daughter watched from the doorway. 43 years of marriage, fitting into luggage and a box of photos. She suggested a senior complex on Maple Street. "Very affordable, Mom. I'm sure they have openings." Affordable. My daughter was inheriting $33 million, and she was recommending a welfare facility. Kevin drove me to the Sunset Inn like he was disposing of garbage. $49 a night. Thin walls, thinner towels, carpet that had seen better decades. Victoria handed me $200 in cash. "This should cover a few days while you get settled." A few days. After they left, I sat on that sagging mattress, trying to process what had happened. 3 hours ago, I had a home. Now I was a homeless senior citizen, discarded by the daughter I'd sacrificed everything for. But something was nagging at me. Robert had been obsessively organized about documents, meticulous. He'd shown me the will years ago, explained everything, and I was absolutely certain that's not what it said. Robert had been traditional, sometimes stubborn, occasionally patronizing about money. But he wasn't cruel. The man who held my hand through my mother's death wouldn't have left me destitute. The next morning, I used the motel Wi-Fi to find Robert's attorney, Harrison Fitzgerald, the same lawyer who'd handled everything for decades. His office was downtown, 20 minutes by bus, 20 minutes that would change everything. Harrison Fitzgerald looked genuinely surprised when his secretary announced me. "Margaret, my dear, I was wondering when you'd come in. I tried calling your house several times." My stomach dropped. "What did Victoria tell you?" "That you were traveling, too distraught to discuss estate matters." His expression shifted to concern. "Margaret, weren't you at the will reading?" The blood drained from my face. "There was a reading? You were supposed to be there. Victoria said she'd handle everything and make sure you received your inheritance." Harrison's movements turned urgent as he reached for a thick file. "Margaret, what exactly did Victoria tell you?" "She said she inherited everything." The elderly lawyer's face flushed with anger. That's impossible. He pulled out the document. Robert's neat signature at the bottom. Witnessed. Notarized. And when Harrison began reading, I realized my daughter had committed multiple felonies. I, Robert James Sullivan, being of sound mind and body, bequeath to my beloved wife, Margaret Ann Sullivan, our primary residence at 847 Oakwood Drive. Additionally, I leave her 70% of all financial assets and investments totaling approximately $23 million. The rune spun. $23 million. The house. 70% of everything. Harrison's voice grew more serious. To my daughter Victoria Sullivan Hayes, I leave $10 million to be held in trust, contingent upon her treatment of her mother following my death. Contingent upon her treatment of me. Robert had known. Somehow, he'd known exactly what Victoria would try. Mr. Fitzgerald, my voice cracked. Victoria told me I inherited nothing. She moved into my house, gave me $200, and told me to find a senior facility. The lawyer's hands trembled with rage. Margaret, what Victoria has done is elder abuse and fraud. Multiple felonies. But she had documents. She showed me papers. Forged, or documents from an earlier draft. He leaned forward. Your husband updated his will 6 months before his death, specifically because he was concerned about Victoria's entitlement. And her attitude toward money. Robert had been watching, evaluating, protecting me. There's more, Margaret. The trust provision states that if Victoria fails to treat you with respect and dignity, her entire $10 million reverts to you. I stared at him. Are you saying? Your daughter just cost herself $10 million. You're not inheriting $23 million, Margaret. He smiled. You're inheriting $33 million, plus the house and all personal property. Victoria had been so eager to steal my inheritance that she'd triggered the exact clause designed to protect me from her greed. The irony was so perfect, it almost made me laugh. What do I do now? Harrison's smile widened. Now we call the police about the fraud. And then we call Victoria and inform her that her world is about to implode. Within 2 hours, every account was frozen. Victoria's credit cards declined. The house utilities suspended. My phone rang at exactly 3:47. Mom, where are you? There's some mix-up with the bank accounts. Hello, Victoria. I'm sitting in Harrison Fitzgerald's office. You remember him? Daddy's attorney. The one who read the real will to an empty room while you told him I was traveling. Silence. Mom, I don't know what you think you discovered. I discovered you're a liar and a thief, sweetheart. I also discovered your father was smarter than either of us realized. Her voice turned sharp, desperate. You're confused. The grief. Victoria, let me clarify something. Not only did you never inherit anything, but your actual inheritance, that $10 million, is now mine, thanks to a lovely clause about treating me with dignity and respect. That's impossible. Detective Rodriguez is sitting right here if you'd like to discuss the impossibility of fraud charges. The phone went quiet. I could almost hear her mind racing. Mom, please, can we meet and talk about this reasonably? We'll meet at the courthouse when you're arraigned. You wouldn't dare press charges against your own daughter. Something cold and final crystallized in my chest. Watch me. Victoria was arrested at 8:30 that evening, at Le Bernard, celebrating her inheritance with Kevin and friends. According to Detective Rodriguez, she screamed about false arrest and demanded her lawyer, Kevin's golf buddy with zero criminal law experience. Kevin was arrested the next morning at his office. The forensic accountant had traced the forged documents to a printing company his firm used for fraudulent investment prospectuses. Apparently, my son-in-law had quite the criminal resume. I spent my first night back in my house sleeping in the master bedroom. Victoria had already moved her designer chaos into the space. I packed everything into garbage bags and left them on the front porch. Let her collect them when she makes bail. The house felt different now. For decades, I'd maintained it as Robert's sanctuary. His preferences, his vision. Looking around with clear eyes, I realized how little of me had ever been reflected in these rooms. That was about to change. 3 days after Victoria made bail, she appeared on my porch at 7 in the morning. Yesterday's clothes, 5 years older overnight. Mom, please, we need to talk. We talked yesterday. You told me to find somewhere to die. Her eyes were red-rimmed, composure shattered. I made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but I'm still your daughter. Are you? Because daughters don't forge legal documents to steal their mother's inheritance. I wasn't stealing. I was trying to protect you. Even now, even after arrest, still lying. Victoria, let me share something. I pulled out my phone. Your father recorded a video message 6 months before he died, to be played if you ever contested the will or treated me poorly. She stared at the phone like it was a snake. He knew, sweetheart. He knew exactly who you were. Play it, she whispered. Robert's voice filled the morning air, clear, measured, devastating. If you're hearing this, Victoria, it means my fears about your character were justified. I hoped I was wrong, but if Margaret is playing us recording, you've proven me right in the worst possible way. Victoria sank onto the steps as Robert's voice continued. I spent 43 years watching your mother sacrifice her dreams, her ambitions, her independence for our family. She worked part-time jobs to pay for your college while I built my business. She postponed her education, gave up career opportunities, poured herself into being the wife and mother she thought we needed. 3 more minutes, each word a scalpel cutting through justifications. By the time you hear this, you'll have discovered that treating your mother poorly has cost you everything. I hope it was worth it. When it ended, Victoria was crying. Not pretty manipulation tears. Ugly, broken sobs. He hated me. No, Victoria, he loved you enough to hope you'd prove him wrong. You chose to prove him right. But that wasn't the end of the story. That wasn't even the most shocking part. 3 days after Victoria's confession, Kevin's mother showed up. Eleanor Hayes, perfectly coiffed, dripping jewelry, radiating 3 generations of inherited entitlement. Margaret, we need to discuss this situation rationally. She settled in my living room, like she was granting me an audience. Kevin made poor choices, obviously, but prosecuting him seems vindictive. Vindictive? Your son helped steal my inheritance and threw me out of my house. Kevin was following Victoria's lead. He didn't understand the full situation. She smiled. Kevin's family is prepared to compensate you. $2 million in exchange for dropping charges. $2 million to forgive the man who'd helped steal $33 million. Mrs. Hayes, your son participated in a scheme that cost me everything. Margaret, be realistic. Kevin has a career, children, a reputation. Sending him to prison serves no one. It serves justice. Eleanor's facade cracked. Justice? You're destroying multiple families over money you'd never have known how to manage anyway. There it was, the same condescending poison that had infected Victoria. Mrs. Hayes, we're done here. She stood, composure restored. Very well, but you should know Kevin's legal team has found interesting information about your husband's business practices. It would be unfortunate if that became public during trial. The threat was clear. What kind of information? The kind that might make you reconsider who the real criminal was. After she left, I called Harrison immediately. Within hours, I'd hired a private investigator, Carol Chen, sharp-eyed specialist in financial crimes. She spent 6 hours in Robert's study, photographing documents, building what she called the real picture. Mrs. Sullivan, your husband was running a sophisticated money laundering operation. Millions of dollars in illegal transactions over the past decade. The words hit like a physical blow. That's impossible. I'm sorry, the evidence is overwhelming. He was washing money for organized crime families, using his legitimate business as a front. 12 years. While I planned dinner parties and attended charity galas, my husband was facilitating criminal enterprises. There's more. The $10 million Robert left Victoria, that money came directly from laundered funds. If the FBI discovers this, they'll seize everything. The room spun. Unless Victoria and Kevin's legal team already knows and is planning to use it as leverage. If they tip off the FBI, they might negotiate immunity. My phone rang. Victoria's number. Mom, we need to meet tonight. There are things about Daddy that change everything. I already know, Victoria. Silence. Then you know Kevin's lawyers have contacted the FBI. They're willing to renegotiate. Kevin gets immunity in exchange for information about Daddy's criminal network. You keep $5 million and the house. The fraud charges disappear. Brilliant, sociopathic, strategic. You're asking me to help you profit from your crimes by exploiting Daddy's crimes. I'm asking you to be practical. The alternative is losing everything. I looked around Robert's study. The expensive furniture, rare books, art collection, all purchased with blood money. I need time to think. The FBI meeting is tomorrow morning. Kevin's lawyer needs an answer tonight. After hanging up, I sat in darkness. 43 years married to a stranger, a daughter who'd inherited his talent for deception. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated who I was when my back was against the wall. I picked up the phone. Carol, how quickly can you get me a meeting with the FBI? I have a story to tell them. FBI agent Sarah Martinez looked exactly like Central Casting would order. Serious, intelligent, immune to charm. Mrs. Sullivan, you understand that by coming forward voluntarily, you're potentially admitting to benefiting from criminal proceeds. I understand, but I'd rather tell you the truth than let my daughter manipulate this situation. I laid out everything. Robert's hidden business, Victoria's fraud, Kevin's forgeries, the extortion attempt. Your daughter believes she can trade information about your husband's crimes for immunity. Exactly. And she thinks I'll cooperate because I'm afraid of losing everything. Agent Martinez smiled for the first time. Are you afraid, Mrs. Sullivan? Agent Martinez, 2 weeks ago I was sleeping in a budget motel. Today I'm voluntarily confessing to federal agents. Fear is no longer my primary emotion. What is? Anger. Pure crystallized anger at being manipulated by people who underestimated me for decades. Her smile widened. Mrs. Sullivan, would you be willing to wear a wire? 3 hours later, I sat in my living room with a recording device taped to my chest, waiting for Victoria and Kevin to arrive, for what they thought was my surrender. They knocked at 8 sharp, both dressed for business. Kevin carried a briefcase, probably containing immunity agreements. Mom, you look better. Victoria kissed my cheek like nothing had happened. I feel better. Clarity has that effect. Kevin opened his briefcase. Margaret, our lawyers have structured this very favorably. You retain the house, $5 million in clean assets, complete immunity. Clean assets. Interesting phrase. Mom, the important thing is we're all protected. The past stays buried. What about the $33 million Robert actually left me? That money is tainted. Taking $5 million is the best outcome. And you two, what do you get? Kevin leaned forward, confidence returning. We put this unfortunate misunderstanding behind us. Victoria's charges disappear. My reputation stays intact. Misunderstanding. Still, Kevin, when exactly did you discover Robert's criminal activities? He and Victoria exchanged glances. Margaret, that's not relevant. Actually, it's very relevant. Because if you knew and said nothing, that makes you an accessory. And if you only discovered them while committing fraud, that makes you remarkably unlucky. Victoria's composure cracked. Mom, what are you getting at? I'm getting at the fact you've been planning this for months. The forged will, the money laundering discovery, all of it. I paused. Agent Martinez finds it quite plausible. Their faces went white. Agent Martinez? Kevin whispered. FBI. She's been very interested in my story about systematic elder abuse and extortion, particularly the part where you tried to blackmail me. Kevin stood, reaching for his briefcase. This conversation is over. Actually, Kevin, I think it's just beginning. Agent Martinez and 2 other agents entered my living room. Victoria Sullivan Hayes and Kevin Hayes, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, elder abuse, and attempted extortion of a federal witness. Victoria turned to me with absolute betrayal in her eyes. Mom, how could you do this to your own family? The same way you forged documents and stole my inheritance, sweetheart. Except my way is legal. As they handcuffed them, Kevin tried one last play. Margaret, you don't understand. There are people connected to Robert's business who won't appreciate federal attention. You've put yourself in danger. Agent Martinez paused. Mr. Hayes, are you threatening a federal witness? I'm warning her. You just added witness intimidation to your charges. After they were removed, Agent Martinez sat back down. Mrs. Sullivan, Kevin's warning might not be empty. Your husband was connected to dangerous people. How dangerous? The Torino crime family. They've been using legitimate businesses to launder money for decades. My hands went cold. Are you saying I'm in physical danger? Potentially, but there's something else you should know. She pulled out a thick file. Your husband wasn't just laundering money. He was an FBI informant. The world stopped. For 12 years, he was providing information while appearing to facilitate their operations. Deep cover, long-term investigation. But the money. The FBI allowed him to keep a percentage as payment and to maintain cover. Everything he left you was earned through legitimate federal cooperation. I couldn't breathe. So the $33 million is legally yours. Your husband died before the investigation concluded, but his cooperation led to 47 arrests and seizure of over $200 million in criminal assets. Why didn't anyone tell me? We weren't certain about your involvement. Your daughter's fraud scheme actually helped us confirm your innocence. The irony crashed over me like a wave. Victoria and Kevin had tried to blackmail me with information that would have exonerated Robert. They'd stolen my inheritance twice based on incomplete information. What happens now? Now you get your money back. Your daughter and son-in-law face federal charges, and you decide what kind of life you want to build. I looked around my living room, the site of my resurrection. Agent Martinez, am I terrible for feeling satisfaction about Victoria's arrest? She smiled. In my professional opinion, you're a woman who refused to be victimized. That's not terrible. That's inspiring. 6 months later, I stood in my renovated kitchen making coffee. Morning sun streamed through new windows I'd chosen myself. Windows that actually opened. Good morning, Margaret. Dr. Sarah Chen, my new financial advisor, appeared with a thick folder. Ready for our quarterly review? The past 6 months had been a whirlwind. Victoria and Kevin were each serving 18-month federal sentences. The news coverage had made me a celebrity in senior advocacy circles. Your portfolio is performing excellently. The charitable foundation is fully operational. The scholarship fund has selected its first recipients. The Margaret Sullivan Foundation for Elder Protection. $15 million funding legal aid for seniors facing family financial abuse. Any word on the documentary? Netflix confirms the production deal. They want to start filming next month. My story had captured national attention. The Mother's Revenge, an American crime story. Proceeds going to elder advocacy organizations. And Victoria? Sarah's expression grew careful. She's written again, wants to apologize and ask forgiveness. 17 letters from federal prison. I'd stopped opening them after the first few. Has my stance changed? Not according to our previous conversations, but people do evolve. I thought about the woman I'd been 6 months ago. Grieving, dependent, willing to accept scraps of dignity. That woman was gone. Sarah, schedule a meeting with Victoria's lawyer. Not to reconcile, to make something clear. What kind of thing? I want Victoria to understand her actions had permanent consequences. She destroyed our relationship. Her children will grow up knowing why their mother went to prison. That seems harsh. Good, it's supposed to be. Victoria made adult choices. She doesn't escape the emotional consequences with prison letters. After Sarah left, I walked through my house. Really my house now, decorated according to my taste, organized around my priorities. In the art studio, Robert's former den, I uncovered my latest painting. A self-portrait of a woman standing in bright sunlight, face turned toward the future. The woman in that painting looked nothing like the grieving widow who'd packed her life into 2 suitcases. This woman looked powerful, independent, unafraid. She looked like someone who'd learned that the best revenge isn't getting even. It's becoming everything your enemies never thought you could be. Outside, the sun set behind trees I'd planted myself, in soil that belonged to me. On property I'd defended through intelligence and courage. Tomorrow, I'd continue building the life I'd chosen, rather than the life others had planned for me. And if Victoria wanted to rebuild a relationship with this woman, she'd better bring more than prison letters and hollow apologies. She'd better bring a complete transformation, one that matched my own. What would you do if your own family tried to steal everything from you? Let me know in the comments where you're watching from.